Likutei Torah, Behalotcha, page 68. There's a lot of long parentheses here. So we're going to start at 4 lines in the end of the second column. Mamish 4 lines in the end of the page. Okay, the Alter Rebbe was explaining there's mitzvahs and there's Yidden and there's Torah that reveals the level of the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs reveal Tainug, but it's not revealed. Torah reveals it. But that's Torah mitzvahs. L'maylan, the source, mitzvahs are rotzen of Hashem, and therefore they're higher than Torah. But down here, in order to have this revelation, you need supposed to speak the food to eat it. Okay, I know so we're out. No, I'm sorry, we're not starting there. We're starting about 20 lines in the bottom of the page. Well, the Inyan is over there like this. He says to understand this, we need to understand why Shema is before volume Shemaya. That the Gemara says, first accept my mitzvah, my kingdom, and then you'll accept my mitzvahs. So he says, V'inyan kinei kabbalah so malchus Shemayim. It's the parsha Rishon of Shema Yisrael Havaya Elokeinu Havaya Echad. Yeah, we'll go, these 2 lines we learned. To understand Havana, like it says in Avos Assembly, Beinu B'Nov and La'aska. This meditation is a level of Geila, which is Avayira. Okay, okay, we'll start here. V'nei Kiyam V'Yahavta. How do you come to the level of Yahavta? To love Hashem. It's Ayizbein and is Be'echad of Yichudei Ilah. When you meditate, this is where we're up to yesterday, by the way. Yichudei Ilah means there is no world. Not there's a world which is bottled. Yichudei Ilah, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Yachid is like Echad, is like Yachid. The only thing that exists is Hashem. So when a person meditates, nothing exists. And everything is mamish bottle. If so, that the world is really nothing. Hashem is constantly reviving the world. So it's not only that there's a world and Hashem is giving life to the world. Even for a certain extent, a neshama in a body, the neshama doesn't make the body exist. There's a body, there's a neshama, the neshama gives life to the body, otherwise it's dead. But when the neshama leaves the body doesn't instantaneously disintegrate. Because the neshama doesn't create the body. When it comes to Hashem in the world, Hashem is create mahavid the world, and therefore if the whole existence of the world is dependent on Hashem. And therefore, there's nothing but Hashem. By day came nimshach. We have to through this when you understand that einayd mulvadi, there's nothing that exists. So why would I want a world that doesn't exist? Why would I desire something basic that doesn't exist? You have to be a fool to want something that doesn't exist. There should be havaya in the level of Elokecha mamish, like it says in other places. Meaning, the Gemara says, whoever is maidach echad, maidichin yom of shnesav. You live long. What's in your maidach be'echad? You meditate. It doesn't mean you say echad. That's not what it means. First of all, because then it says in Shulchan Aruch, when you say echad, some people, you hear people say echad. That's not the word. The word is echad, not echad. There's now 25 aleph in there. Especially you're saying the word incorrectly. So he said when you maidach be'echad means when you meditate into the concept of echad, mamsha gili say that's what it says Behalotcha, that from there comes the 7 areas. In other words, through the Isbaininess in Havaya Echad you create Yichudei Ilah, that causes the Minerva Behalotcha, on top of it a higher makifim level, and then it comes into the Shiva Neris. Then it comes into the 7 candles.
Over here the Rebbe says that the world doesn't exist.
Huh?
Over here the Rebbe says that the world doesn't exist.
Einayd means there's nothing but Hashem. What's not that world doesn't exist. World's existence is Hashem.
Different levels.
That world's existence is Hashem. From that level of Elokus, there is no world. This that there is in the Eilam is from the name of Elokim. As far as Elokim is concerned, there is a world. As far as Havaya is concerned, there is no world. So he says, okay, skip the parentheses, now we go to 4 lines in the end of the page. Huh?
Can we reach Havaya?
Yeah, every time you do a mitzvah, you reach higher than Havaya.
But we don't exist.
Mute it. How do you mute it?
But we don't exist.
We don't exist as a separate entity. We exist as the existence of Hashem.
Havaya does recognize us. How do we reach it?
Havaya recognizes you as an extension of Him. Yeah. Yeah, but he's making noise over there. Oh. Avram, please put it on mute. Thank you. Okay. V'inei miyahavta v'sharecha, from the word miyahavta to v'sharecha, in mem base taken. There's 42 words from v'yahavta until v'sharecha. You can v'yahavta. I'm not going to do it now, but okay. That's corresponding with the Shem Mab of Ana B'Cheach Gedulas. In Ana B'Cheach, we say, which is a very Kabbalistic, was written by Rabbi Nechuni ben Akana, who was an earlier Tanoim. So there's 42 words. It corresponds with the Shem Mab. Not there's Maban, there's Mab, there's a lot of different things. V'yesh b'zayim psukim, and there's 7 psukim. V'chol echad shisha tevis, and each pasuk has, if you look at Ana B'Cheach, yeah, there's 6 words on each line. Okay? Then, that's why by Sfiras HaEmer, even though Ana B'Cheach has 42 words, how do you get 49? Because if you know that after Ana B'Cheach Gedos Yimir Chatat Surora, you have Aleph, Beis, Gimel, you know, okay. So that's, and the Malchus of each day, we say that, we have in mind, by Sfiras HaEmer, that thing. So altogether, there's 49 words. But in Ana B'Cheach itself, there's 42 words, correspond with the 42 words from V'ahavta to V'sharecha. And there's 7 psukim. Each pasuk has 6 words, like it says, Shtayim Echaz V'Shtayim Eifif. And that's the inyan at Pircha. Ad Yerech at Pircha, all the way to the flowers and all that stuff in the Menorah. V'ineh Zeu inyan Shiva Neirosel. That's the inyan of the 7 Neiros of the Menorah, which are Zayin Midas, which are Zayin Psukim of Ana B'Cheach. Okay? And he says, Rashi says, when it says in the pasuk Geila Reisha, what does Geila mean? Rashi says it's Loshim Mayan and Neveya. It's like the well that flows. Geila means flowing. Quotes the pasuk in Yeshua, Geilis Iliyas, whatever, it means flowing. Like it says, Nor Yetzimi Eden. Okay, there's a place in that or whatever. You go, Galgalta, Geila also means like the skull on top of it. Okay, whatever. So he says like this. We'll skip the kitzur for a minute. Now, so he says like this. The whole inyan of the Menorah over here, you have the whole, like he's explaining like this. The pasuk says, Menorah Zav Kula. The Menorah is gold. Geila Reisha. Geila, like Rashi says, either means flowing or the skull over it. The Shiva Neiros Se'aleh, and the Shiva Neiros. So now the Rebbe is explaining the concept of Menorah, the Knesset Yisrael, the 7 Neiros are the mitzvahs, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, but it also refers to Ner Mitzvah V'Torah Or. So Ner is bringing down the level of Miksha, the source of everything, the way everything is only one, Ein Od Milvadei. That level of Tainug is revealed through mitzvahs, is brought down through mitzvahs, but what reveals it internally, that's the level of Torah. And then he said that brings to the person v'yahavta. Okay, because you have v'yahavta, which comes Sunday's Beininus and Ein Od Milvadei, of Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And then he says that you have the level of, it comes down into the 7 midas. That you feel Elokus completely. But he says, how do you reveal this love within you? He says, that's who Shnayim Zeisim Achim Min HaGeila Ve'echad Al Smeila. But then the pasuk says, there's 2 olives. There's a pasuk in Chaya. The pasuk is, there's 2 olives, and then the shemen's on top of it. So he says, what does it mean? Kine, what is the level? The concept, the pasuk says the word Zeisim. Obviously told Ruchni is different thing. You're not talking about olives. What are olives of Begashmias? Oil is in the olive and it doesn't go out. How does it go out? Only when you torture. Katisha means you press the olive, that's when you get it. So now he says like this. How do you get to this ava? He says you have to press the nefesh habamis a little bit. The oil is there, but the oil is in the shnei zeisim alel. Right? There's 2 levels of zeisim. It has to be k'tisha b'nefesh adam. It has to be the pressing of the nefesh adam, like it says, ein the mispalel elamitech keved rosh. The Gemara says you only daven. You only kedaven. Keved rosh simply means the heaviness of the head, meaning seriousness. Okay, it's simcha also, but you need keved rosh. What does rosh mean? Keved rosh means like this. Rosh is the level of Yisrael, which is Li Rosh. Okay? Yisrael is the level of Rosh, Li Rosh. Bechinas Keved Rosh, what is the heaviness of the heart, of the head? That's Avinasein, Avinaisai, Avro Reishi, Kamasi, Kabid Yechbedu Mimani. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Meaning, the heaviness of the sins that we do. In other words, what's the pressure on the neshama? Neshama realizes that the way they sinned, they separated themselves from Elokus. They lowered themselves now by Choz the Nega, and also the Gemara says, Kev the Rosh of Shechina. It's not only the heaviness of the Jews, but the Gemara says, Kev the Rosh of the Shechina. The Shechina is depressed, so to speak, that the Shechina is in Golus. In other words, the Shechina is upset that it's being forced to go into Golus when the Jews sin. In other words, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Yaakov Chavel Nachlosei, the Sheikh of Amunah, he gets a tshuva, that when you pull down the rope, you schlep the top down with you. So Hashem set up the world in a way that when we go up, he goes up. When we go down, he goes down. That's what he set up the world in a way. So when the Jews are in Golus for their sins, so they have Keved Rosh, they're heavy-headed, but the Shechina is also. Therefore, what does the Shechina say when they're in Golus? Kalani Meresh, meaning Kalani Reishi, my head is like heavy, or meaning Avanisein or Ravel Maila Reish, like it says, Evan, Keved Evan, Venatalachev, because Avil, there's all psukim, okay. Shebe'emes ein shaykh shum keved the chasishom l'mayla. You can't say Hashem is depressed. What does it mean? Sheikol ha'elam is, okay, you can't, the pasuk says Hashem is depressed. I'm using keved rosh, for lack of a better word, it means heavy head, but it means depressed, yeah? That he's in Golus. But l'cheira, something that you can't get depressed from something that has absolutely no relevance to you. You get depressed from something you care about, and it didn't go the way you wanted, so you get depressed. But he says, you can't say, Keved Rosh Hashanah, Kol ha'elam esnivu shalei ba'ama v'lei b'yigia. Worlds are nothing compared to Hashem. You didn't work hard, you work hard on a project, and then it fails, so you get depressed. Okay? But if you didn't work on a project and it just didn't work out, who cares? I mean, meaning, it's considered Keved Rosh, because Hashem doesn't want to be in Golus. We are forcing Hashem in Golus. And that's Geila Reisha. Shemavor b'Rabbis Chadam v'Geilosh in Golus. Mashal kusum muster. One opinion, Gaila Reisha means, he said before, different interpretation. Rashi says it means flowing. Other places it means the skull, Galgalta. Other places it means, Gaila Reisha means Hashem is in Golus. Gaila, pushing the word Golus. The Rebbe said many, many times, if you take Gaila, which is Golus, and you put an aleph into it, which is Alufei Shalaylam, then it becomes Geula. So basically, we make the Golus, we put Hashem into Golus, and we are the only ones that can take him out of Golus. Because Hashem to go out of Golus is no big deal for him. He could do whatever he wants. But Hashem wants us to do it. So he said, what does it mean Hashem is in Golus? Hashem is concealed. Nifra in this world seems to be a separate entity. Therefore, it's important to feel the pain. The Jew needs to feel the pain that Hashem is concealed and he can't be revealed. Why is that Golus? Golus means somebody else or something else controls you. If you are controlled by something else, that's when you're in Golus. Like you're in jail. Jail simply means not really, don't say anything. Not when you go home at night and lock the door, you're not in jail. Because you locked it, you can unlock it. You are in control. What is jail, so to speak? When somebody else locks you and you don't have the key, so they are controlling where you are. That's Golus. Golus is, when for Hashem wants to be revealed. He wants Elokus to be all over the place. The Galush Taimesav V'Kochesa, to reveal Hashem's completeness. But the Pearl, we stick him into this Golus. We're not allowing him to be revealed. So for Hashem Kaviyachal, that's torture. Kaviyachal in a certain extent. Because Shechina L'Kalani Meresh, I don't want to be in Golus. And that's why he begs us to take him out of Golus. But again, Hashem can definitely take himself out of Golus. But then he did it. He wants us to do it. What's the big deal? So therefore, what's the avodah of a person? To get out of Golus. How do you get out of Golus? By getting rid of the thing that put you into Golus. Gashmius, Chumrius, corruption, Grubkai, Taivus, all that puts the Jew into Golus. The avodah of the Jew is to get himself out of this Golus. Shliya b'chinas yesh v'davar nifrit. Okay, that's the avodah of the Jew. That's what Shema is all about. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. If you have to, you connect it to the Anu B'chayach, whatever. And that, but the main thing is, he says, the meditation of Shema and V'ho, has to permeate the midas of the person, the seven natures, and that is by meditating into the Shechinah Begaluso, the concept of the Shechinah in Galus, which means the Shechinah cannot reveal himself, because we strengthen the Gashmi's concealment of those things that cover, like we said. Evil itself has very limited existence. Okay? So when we don't do evil, evil basically dies. Nobody's feeding it. When we are doing Aveda, we transgress a negative commandment, we're feeding evil. If we're feeding evil, then evil becomes very powerful. If evil becomes powerful, so then the Shekhinah is in Golus. So how do you get the Shekhinah out of Golus? It's up to us. How do you get the Shekhinah out of Golus? Through davening with Keved Rosh. I mean, what do you mean? You don't daven only with Keved Rosh. Keved Rosh doesn't only mean that we're in exile. Keved Rosh, the Gemara says of the Shekhinah. We're upset that the Shekhinah is in Golus. Therefore, in Birchas Krishma, we say Avinu Avarachaman, or we say in the first bracha, Berachamecha Rabim Racham Aleinu, have mercy upon us. Le'eder Rachamim Rabim, Al Gashmi Saguf, to have Rachmanis on the physical body, that's the source of all evil. Ubezeh Yichna Levaveh, will be subdued. V'yaveh Likutei Krishma, then we'll come to Krishma properly. Like we said many times, as Chassidus explains, the whole davening is a sulam, the ladder that goes up. Ultimately, it's tefillah, which is bittul of atzilus, feet together, standing, bittul, standing is bittul, no movement, complete bittul. The field of sapayim, it says, is even higher, because then you're mamish bowing. But in order to come there, so you have Sukkot de Zimra, and you have Birchas Kirshma, and all that. So the ultimate that causes the Shmanesri, the Amida, the bittul, is Shema. Meditating Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And then you realize Kavod Rosh, and that brings you to the after. And then the 7 meters. And then you have after Kabbalah, so Malchus Shemaim Yichudi Lo, you come to Mitzvahs, which is Yichudi Tata, and then, but how do we get there? So the meditation of Sukkot Zimra doesn't work. So then we come to Birchas Krishma. We speak about the Malachim, which is the source of the Nefesh Habahamis. They're also screaming Kaddish and Baruch, the Malachim. But that we say, God, have mercy. Avinu averachim rachim na'aleinu. Yeah? The first in the Meir Laris we say, V'ata b'rachmecha rabim rachim aleinu. But then we say, Avinu averachim, averachim means the source of mercy. Not only mercy. It should come from averachim, the source of mercy, to have rachmanas on us.
Oh yeah, man.